Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to discuss what consumer and producer surplus is and how we can calculate these numbers in a market situation. So formally, consumer surplus is the welfare that consumers receive from buying units of a good or service in the market. So this can be calculated by computing the highest price minus the equilibrium price multiplied by the equilibrium quantity multiplied by a half, which is essentially equivalent to calculating the area of the shaded region in the diagram below, which is just a triangle. Now, very similarly, producer surplus is the welfare producers receive from selling units of a good or service in a market. And this can be calculated by finding the equilibrium price minus the lowest price that producers are willing to sell for, multiplied by the equilibrium quantity, multiplied by a half. And this calculation is, again, equivalent to calculating the area of the shaded section in this market. Now, let's do some examples. So, in this first question, we are asked to find consumer and producer surplus in a market with the demand curve given by P is equal to 100 minus Q and a supply curve given by P is equal to 3Q. So the first thing I'd want to do when going about solving a question like this is to solve for the equilibrium price and quantity. So we can do this by simply equating prices in this market, since they must be equilibrium, which will give us 100 minus Q is equal to 3Q. So I'll rearrange this to 100 is equal to 4Q, which gives us Q at equilibrium, which I'll label Q star, is equal to 25. So then we can easily plug this number back into either of our equations to find equilibrium price. So putting it back into supply, 3 times 25, well, equilibrium price must be 75. There we go. Now, the next thing I would like to do when solving a question like this is to draw a simple diagram of the demand and supply curves so that we can help visualize what we are trying to find. So here's what that will look like. This might be a bit of a messy diagram. So for the demand curve, 100 minus Q, so it's just a linear line going downwards, and we know it intersects the price axis at a value of 100. And for the supply curve, we know it starts at 0 and it goes up a bit more sharply with a gradient of 3. So it'll look something like that. And then we know this value is 75 equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity 25. So now for consumer surplus, we just need to find the area of this region I'm shading right now, which we can do with the following calculation. So it's actually just like finding the area of a triangle, as I mentioned. So we'll have 100 minus 75, so 25, which is this length here, times by 25, which is this length here, or the equilibrium quantity, and then multiplied by a half, because we are looking for a triangle. And I'll just put this into my calculator quickly. 25 times 25 times a half gives us a value of 312.5 for consumer surplus. Now let's get producer surplus, which is equivalent to finding this area I'm shading right now. So for this length, we'll have 75 times again multiplied by the equilibrium quantity, 25, and then just multiplying by a half because the area we're looking for is a triangle. So if you put that into your calculator, you will get 937.5. So there you go, we've found consumer and producer surplus in this market.